And if you shut up, you just might learn something. Welcome back to another episode of Elevate and Illuminate the Empowerment Podcast. I'm your host, Jamarcus Fields, founder and executive director of Iron Sharpens Iron WAST Incorporated. That is WAST, WAST, which stands for We Are Stronger Together. This season, we've been diving deep into the realities of mental health, how we cope, how we heal, and how we show up for ourselves and others. One that hits home in a powerful way. We're talking about the health, fatherhood, and incarceration. My guest is the founder of YouYesYou, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping incarcerated fathers strengthen their relationships with their children and embrace their roles as dads, even in the face of unimaginable. This isn't just about parenting. It's about healing cycles of trauma, building bridges where walls have been placed, and showing that love and responsibility can thrive even in the hardest places. So get ready for a raw, honest, and deeply necessary conversation. Thank you for joining us this evening. So go ahead and take a minute, let everybody who you are, and then we'll dive into this conversation.
Nice. I'm happy to be here, Jamarcus. Thank you. Ericka Sanders, as you said, founder and executive director of YouYesYou. Our mission is to help build relationships between incarcerated fathers and their children and strengthen their ability to be fathers. All of our work is done inside prison facilities, and we also guide our dads in reentry. So when the YouYesYou dad is released from prison, his first step is to hit my phone or have his family hit my phone, and then we get to work. But even before he's released from prison, we already know what his needs are, and what his desires are and his dreams are, and so we already start building that inside the prison. And that's the idea of connecting them with their kids and helping them build better relationships with their kids while they're in prison as well, so that when they leave, that relationship is on the mend. That relationship is healing, right? And they've already started to do some necessary work.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. So again, thank you for joining me and for the incredible work that you do. Um, to our guests, thank you for joining. As y'all know, we love to keep this as interactive as possible. So the chat room is open. So feel free. Any questions you have, drop them in the chat. Any comments, want to add to the conversation, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will incorporate it into the conversation. So with that, for those who may not know your story, Ericka, let's start here. What inspired you to create YouYesYou, and how did your own journey shape its mission?
Yeah, man. She was all about my journey. Selfishly, the idea of You started in 2014. Where I organized the first father daughter dance to take place inside of a Indiana correctional facility. Um, a lot of people are familiar now, thanks to the documentary Daughters. There is a wonderful human being named Angela Patton, who organized a father daughter dance, the first one in Virginia, maybe like in 2011 or so. And I got wind of what she was doing and was inspired. And so I'm born and raised in Indianapolis. And so when I heard about her story and what she was doing, I couldn't go to sleep that night. And so I woke up the next day and I thought, I wonder if we could do a dance in Indiana, right? At a prison in Indiana. Lo and behold, we were able to, and we did. In 2014, it was very successful. We had 25 dads and 32 daughters participate in that event. And the
All right.
Indiana Department of Correction asked me to do another dance the following year, which I eagerly agreed to do. And I showed up at the facility a couple of weeks later, Jamarcus, talking with the dads, just trying to get feedback because I wanted to do the next dance bigger and better and all the things. And we spent
Right.
a little bit of time talking about the dance, but I was there for a couple of hours. And the dads were sharing with me things such as, hey, I'm about to get out of here in a couple of months. Do you know where I can get a job? Or I had dad saying, I lost my family. My parents passed away while I've been incarcerated. I don't have any family. I don't have anything. Do you have any resources? And I also got fathers. I had one particular dad. I always share this. He said to me, "Man, my daughter and we had a great time at the dance. But she has this boyfriend, and I made these comments about her boyfriend, and now she won't answer my phone calls. What do I do?" Right? And I sat there that day
Right.
and I felt overwhelmed. I felt selfish. I felt, I also felt like a responsibility. And so I left that prison that day, recognizing that uh, I should probably try to figure out what to do. And so the following year, started YouYesYou. We became a 501c3. Figured out what I was trying to do between 2015 and 2018. And since 2018, we've been consistently inside prison facilities, just growing and scaling our work and our programs and all those things. And personally, YouYesYou began, for me, I grew up without my dad, being raised by my dad. My dad wasn't incarcerated. He was in and out of jail, things of that nature. But he didn't raise me. Very complicated relationship. And I
Okay.
recognized, as I got older, when you get older and you become a parent, and it hits you that, oh, my parents were actually, they're human beings. They were actually people before I was born. And I recognized that it wasn't that my dad didn't want to be a good dad. It was that my dad didn't know how to be a good dad. And for my dad, his response to not being good at something was to just not do it, right? And so my vision with YouYesYou and our dads is, I'm intrigued to find out that if I can show up for them in a way that I wished someone showed up for my dad, will that change the dad, which will ultimately change their child, which ultimately changes their relationship, which ultimately changes the family, which ultimately changes the community, right? And so it kind of all works together. So yeah, so that's how we got started, and why I do what I do.
Wow. That's that's strong. Um, on so many different levels. When you first started, I was looking back to, just the the determination and the vision for one wanting to do the father daughter dance. Because that had to be a mountainous task in itself. Just in the planning and thought process of, okay, that sounds like a good idea, but how do I actually get this inside?
Right.
Um, and then to go in and deal with with the fathers and go back just to have a conversation and get feedback, and then it birthed something totally different out of the project. But when I was listening to you talk about realizing, that your parents were human, that they
Hmm.
had lives before you got there, it took me back to, to some degree. I think we all can relate to that statement, because I was the same way. I was sitting in a prison cell, and I had to, just take a look in the rear view mirror at my life, and I was like, man, I took my parents through a lot.
Hmm.
Like, and it's like they weren't humans; they were like superheroes to me.
Hmm.
They were supposed to take care of everything, fix everything,
Yep.
handle everything, pay for everything. And I was like, I had to ask myself, at the age that I was giving them problems, would I have been able to handle a me?
That's a great question.
And it was a loud, resounding
No.
no. I couldn't have done nothing with me at that age. So it gave me a different type of appreciation and respect
Hmm.
for my parents. And also understanding that, sometimes because of how we view our parents, that we place expectations on them that they really never could live up to.
Hmm.
And we allow that to shape the relationship and how we look at them moving forward, once we begin to, to gather our own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
it begins to affect the relationship because we're expecting something from them that they really don't even possess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, just that one response of yours took me through a myriad of thoughts and emotions, right?
Yeah.
As I'm sure it probably did a lot of people listening as well. So so incarceration often creates deep emotional distance
Mm-hmm.
um, between fathers and their children, you know, for the obvious, of course, and other reasons. But from your experience, what are the mental health effects of that separation on both the father and the child?
Yeah, I think from my experience, in the work that we try to do is our dads, and I think just incarcerated dads in general, they tell themselves a lot of untruths in their head about the relationships with their kids, or what their kids are feeling and what their kids are thinking, based upon what other people are feeling and what other people are thinking, adults, right? And the truth is, like, kids don't care, right? Kids could care less about what mom is saying about you. You know, kids could care less about what the world is saying about you. Kids care about what you're saying or what you're not saying, right? And so the first thing is, we try uh, to nail that into our dads, that your kids actually do value you in spite of all of your mistakes and in spite of your incarceration. So really just trying to help them mentally understand that too. And also from the kids' perspective as well. We talk with the dads a lot about the importance of, and to your point, what you were saying earlier about just understanding our parents are human and things of that nature. Kids don't know that for a minute, right? And so what would have been really helpful for me, from for the relationship with my dad, is if I knew the why, right? If I knew why
Mhm.
my dad was absent, if I knew what his struggles were, if I knew what some of his issues were, it would have been really valuable for me. Because for me, and I think for a lot of kids, specifically USU kids, when I'm speaking of, it's, if you don't tell them, that again, they just make up things in their head. And so we talk a lot with our dads about helping them get brave, and comfortable and unashamed to actually tell their story to their kids, right? So that their kids don't
Mhm.
feel like the incarceration is their fault, or that their dads don't think about them, or they don't love them, or they don't miss them, or they weren't, at top of mind when they sort of made those decisions. And so I think for us mentally, we try to get our dads to just be honest and tell the
Right.
truth and be comfortable in sharing that truth with their kids, because the kids can absolutely handle it, right? Kids can absolutely handle it. And I think that, and as I'm a parent too, and so I tell myself all the time the same thing. So I think just mentally, we just try to um, get both the dads and the kids to uh, to not have those untruths in their head. And the only way to do that is to talk about it unabashedly, right? Unafraid, and also to not to take it personal, right? We talk a lot with our dads about, like, for example, when we meet our dads, I always ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the relationship like with your kid, right? And a lot
Right.
of them, they'll say 8, or I get some 9s, and I promise you, when I ask their kids, it's nowhere near an 8 or a 9, right? And so we automatically have to figure out, why that is, and it's never the reason that they think that it is. It's really just communication and really trying to open up and understanding, like, who your parents are. That would have been really, really helpful for me in understanding my dad.
Got you. Do you, in terms of like sharing their story with their child, um, do you have a certain age
Mm.
group where you think it's like time, like what's too early in terms of broaching this topic? Because I wholeheartedly believe that the story should be shared with them. um
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, they're going to hear a version of the story anyway.
Absolutely.
So why not hear the truth from your mouth rather than having them have to hear it from someone else who has
Hmm.
given their version and put their spin on the story?
Hmm. Hmm. I think things are absolutely age appropriate, right?
Mhm.
Also with you, yes, you, a big part of our work is working with the mom, the caregiver of the kids. Our work cannot exist without the caregiver, without mom, grandma, sister, auntie. There's a lot of them, right? So we do that
Right.
together. We do that together. I have relationships with everyone's mom, everyone's grandma, girlfriend, ex-wife, everyone. And so that is a conversation that I have with dad, I have with mom. And so it's not for me to tell them, when you should do it. My role is to encourage them to do it, right? My role is to give them the tools to be comfortable to do it whenever they're ready to do it. We just want to make sure that they're prepared to do it. So we leave it up to the dad, to conversate that with the mom of their kid, but absolutely encourage it. And then give them the tools to do it. One of the ways we do that is we have a storytelling workshop that we do. It's facilitated by Circle City storytellers and Anthony Murdoch. All of our dads get a storytelling journal. It's 57 prompts. And Anthony comes to the prison quarterly. He actually be there next Monday for 3 hours. And they get to answer the question, who am I? Who do I want to be? And where am I going? Right. And that storytelling journal and those prompts enables them to start not only telling their story, but writing it down, understanding it. And ultimately, that journal should be a gift for their kid. Like whenever they're ready, they already have the story there, right? They already have the prompts there that when they're ready, they can share one prompt. They could share half of the book, half of the story, the whole story. But the idea of them completing that journal within the year they're with us is to one day be comfortable to share that journal with their kids.
Okay. Good stuff. So what all prisons are you in right
Yep.
now?
We are inside Putnamville Correctional Facility, Plainfield Correctional Facility, and we are finally expanding to Pendleton CIF in January. So very, very excited about that.
Okay. So just CIF, or because when you say Pendleton, my mind first goes to maximum and
Yep,
then it goes to CIF. So is it both?
it's CIF. Yep, yep. So
Okay,
we're start. Yep,
CIF.
yep. So we're starting at CIF. Have plans to do fantastic work there to get to the maximum facility. I'm not sure they're doing programming there right now. So I think we're just getting started at CIF right now.
Okay. Okay. In my mind, I'm imagining the wait list to get into your program.
Uh-huh.
So what is the typical size of the group? Is it a pretty large group?
Yeah, so we accept 30 dads into our program. Our program is
Nice.
a yearly cohort. We run January to December. Last year at Putnamville, we had over 250 applications, and we had maybe about 100, a little over 100 or so at Plainfield. And at Pendleton, we're starting with 15 dads in our cohort, and we already have 78. Uh, Applications ready, or 78 requests, I should say. And we're only accepting 15. So, yes, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I love hearing that, man, because it's good work, man. It's stuff that will literally the impact. Just talking about it, the impact can be felt. Um, as we're talking, and of course, personally, I've met some individuals that have been through your program, so
Hmm.
I know the consensus and the thoughts
Yeah.
that are shared. But
Yeah.
even listening through here, I'm sure people can get the impact of that, like just the mentality of being able to have a father-daughter dance inside the prison. Man, that's a complete game changer.
And that's sort of the hook for our program, right? I think it's what we're known for, because we also do a back to school celebration inside the prison. We give the kids book bags and supplies when they come in, and we do a Halloween party as well. So the kids get to come dressed up in their costume. The older kids are too cool, so they don't come in their costumes. But the smaller kids come in, the cutest thing that you've ever seen, right? And they get to paint pumpkins with their dad and have a good time. But the idea behind those events is the beginning of that reconnection, right? And so what I
Hmm.
share with the dads is, um, you wanted this connection. We've been working hard for this connection, and so now that we have it, let's continue to work to build it. And then when you get out of prison, you don't want to lose this connection, right? So how do we get to work and figure out life and reentry and all of the things to help support you so that you keep building on upon this connection? And so that's
Right.
like the carrot, right, for the program. But then once you get in, we got to get to work, and then you got to deal with me, if you're not getting to work, right? And so that's a whole other thing too. But it's one of my favorite, absolutely favorite things in the world, um, is going to the prison and knowing the dads have so much anxiety before their kids walk in that room, and then when the kids walk in the room, it's just, I mean, it's kind of, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. So let's see what we got going on in the chat. Um, they're definitely loving the conversation. Uh, Misty absolutely loves you and your projects. Um, Definitely believe if the child is asking questions, he or she needs answers. Reliable sources are a must when having conversations. I totally agree. Uh,
Same.
Dave, Dave loves the podcast. Thank you, Dave.
I love Dave
Uh,
too. He knows how much I love him.
Absolutely, man. He the man.
He's the man. He takes great care of me.
uh, yes, absolutely. So we have a question from Melly Mail. How does someone get into the program?
Yeah. So there is an application process. And our criteria, we do not accept sex offenders in our program, not because we don't believe that they deserve an opportunity with their kids, but because we do work with kids and bring kids inside the facility just for safety purposes. Conduct is a big part of our program. So to stay in our program, you have to stay out of trouble, and that's on purpose as well. Let me see. Yeah, there's an application process. There's a referral process. So yes, you dads know that if they refer a dad, I'm going to take a look at those applications first because they know what to expect. And they also know um who's next to them that needs the program, right? And so I rely heavily on referrals from our dads, and so they can get an application from their caseworker. We put an announcement on the tablets beginning of November. They can go get those applications, and then they're due beginning of December, and then we make the choice mid December, and then we start in January. So it's just grabbing that application.
Okay. And Jordan commented, "That's so crazy. I mean, the way this would help brothers and would have helped him." Mm, yeah. Bless y'all. Absolutely.
I hear that a lot.
Misty. Yeah, I can imagine. Um, just from my, my stretch of incarceration, I remember far too many um, guys that didn't have a relationship with their child at all while they were incarcerated. And that was one of the main concerns of theirs when they get home, like after being gone this long, like how do I even go about doing that?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So as I listen to you talk about sharing the story and letting them hear from you, like if you haven't had communication with them the whole time you've been gone, there's no telling what the narrative is. So like you don't
Hmm.
even know what you're walking into or getting ready to deal with, and how to deal with it. So yeah,
Yeah, we talk a lot with the dads about that because that is the big one of the biggest struggles is their expectation of that relationship because they feel oftentimes that talking to their kid on the phone and them asking their kid how are you and the kid is like I'm great, I'm okay. They believe that they're great and that they're okay, but then when they get out of prison, it's a whole other ball game. And so we talk a lot about pace. We talk a lot about being patient. We talk a lot about not taking things personal. We talk a lot about if your feelings are hurt, can you imagine how hurt their feelings are? Right? If
Right.
you feel this way, can you imagine how they feel? They don't have the language to even express it or the experience to even know what they're feeling. So you might want to give them a little bit of grace. And we talk a lot about, from my own perspective, your kids run the show. So you're going to have to wait for them. They've waited for you for how I don't know how long, right? But all of a sudden you got a prison and you want things to come, really, really fast. But you've been gone for 2 years, 5 years, 12 years, or in and out for a long time. It takes time for those relationships to build. And so from our perspective, we work with our dads. Don't give up, right?
Right.
Like we talked about before we hopped on, it's the process, right? And the
Hmm.
process is where you learn and where you grow. And so when our dads are wanting to give up or when our dads are frustrated with the relationship with their kids because of what we built inside the prison, I'm able to uh, communicate with them in a way that maybe others aren't able to communicate, to get the point across, just to um, tailor their expectations a little bit and also to give their kids time and that it's okay
Right.
to give their kids time and they'll be better for and they'll be better for it. So we talk a lot about that. And that's one of the biggest struggles.
Okay. So Misty asked, do you plan to help the ladies with their relationship with their kids? She know her struggled with her when she went to prison.
So we work specifically with dads. That's on purpose for two reasons. One, because God gave me the vision to work with dads. That's number one. Two, there are programs for mothers inside prison, inside the women's prison in Rockville, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. But for dads often get left out. There I also always share the quote to kind of put it into perspective, that there are approximately 20,000 people incarcerated in Indiana, and about 1,800 are women. And then you have about 18,000 that are men,
Right.
right? And so of those 18,000, about 60%, 65% are dads. And YouYesYou is the only program in Indiana, in the Indiana Department of Correction, that does the fatherhood work at the capacity and the depth that we do. There are other programs that do curriculum work. Our dads have taken those programs. I think it's a wonderful program and an added benefit, but um, we go a little bit deeper. We go deeper in our program the same way that a lot of programs go for mothers in the women's prison. Because ideally, from my perspective, that if we can help dad, that also helps mom too. And so no,
Absolutely.
no plans, no plans. There are already people that are doing phenomenal work for mothers inside the prisons. So we're just focused on the dads.
Okay. Misty also says she loves the book idea for the kids because hers were told lies about her.
Hmm.
And any plans to expand to northern facilities?
I get that question a lot. Um, not at the moment. Capacity is the issue right now. Ideally, what my ultimate goal is, you dads are well, Jamarcus, you know this. Men in prison, people in prison, period, are insanely intelligent, capable individuals who just made mistakes, right? And so, what I would love to do in those northern cities that I personally can't get to, what does it look like to build up a UESU dad who was in the northern area of the state, that they could take our program and scale it themselves, right? And then we can sort of work with them and pay them to build our program up. That's sort of what the vision I'm thinking about, trying to hit those other cities. Um, because I'm pretty put where I'm at right now with the work that we're doing with the three facilities that we're in. So no current plans, but just because of capacity.
Okay. And Misty asked if the guardian or mom doesn't want them to have a relationship or bring them to the facility, do you talk to them or is that all on the dad?
No, I spend half of my life talking to guardians and moms who are fed up, rightfully so, who do not want their kids to come inside the facility. Completely understand. And so um the dads know that our work, like I mentioned, our work doesn't exist without mom and without caregivers. And so my perspective and my take when I talk with them is coming from a place of appreciation, and also coming from a place of, I know you don't know me, right? I'm called because what happens is I'll go back, when a UESU dad is accepted into our program, part of their application, they share with me their contact, their family contact, whether it's the mother of the kid or whoever has their child. I
Mhm.
personally reach out and call everybody, to introduce myself and to share who I am, my why, about our program, what our plan is for the year, and also what our plan is to help their loved one, with their reentry when they get out of prison. And so that starts to build that relationship with the caregiver and with the mom. And we also advocate for caregivers and moms. We also help them navigate all of the systems and communicate throughout all of the systems. And
Mhm.
so we become family. We become family as well. And I'm able to share with them, um, from the perspective of, hey, I understand that your loved one has done all of these things. I also understand that you are tired of him, right? I also understand that you are sick and tired of all of these things. However, I bet you he's never been supported in the way that he rightfully deserved to be supported during and after incarceration. So my idea, and I share with them about our program, and I just ask them that if they just give us a shot, give me a chance, right? To trust the process of the program. Um, are you open to maybe possibly bringing your kid in, right? And so we just kind of start there. And I think with that approach, I think that they feel the intention, um, and I also think that they understand. Uh, no offense to you, Jamarcus, but I think women, moms, we just get it, right? So a lot of things don't have to be said, right? And so I think that they understand the vision of what I'm trying to do. So I spend a lot of time talking to mom, and some of them say no. Some of them are like, nope, I'm good. Some of them say, I'll communicate with you only. I don't want to talk to him. So whatever the case may be. So whatever I can get, um, whatever agreement we can come to, I'm always down for that. And that's always just the beginning of how to start to soften that relationship, to help them be a better co-parents.
Okay. Also in the chat, just with transportation.
To
Like
the
if
phys-
the guardian agrees that they can come, but like they not gonna do nothing, do
Mhm.
you provide transportation?
So we do not provide transportation to the facility. In the beginning of our work, we did. We tried to do that, but unfortunately, people don't know how to be on time. And so that would make things that would make things it became too much. What we do though, however, is provide barrier busting opportunities. So we do provide gas cards to every single caregiver that comes to the facility to help with transportation. Um, if a mother says to me, I would love to come, but I need new brakes on my car. Can we get new brakes for your car? One, it'll help you get to the facility. And then two, it helps you just with your day to day life. So if there's anything that we can possibly do, to assist in helping them get to the facility. And if we have the opportunity, the resources, or the funds to do that, we absolutely will do that, have done that, we'll continue to do that. So we don't provide transportation, but if there's a way we can help assist with the transportation, we'll do that.
Oh man, that's amazing. Wow, that is amazing. So, how do how do the men typically describe like the emotional or mental
Mm,
barrier they face when trying to stay connected with their children when you first meet them?
mm. A lot of them are, I think, I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm trying to think of things that they share with me. A lot of it is, I just don't know where to start. You know, I just I don't even know if my kid wants to hear from me, right? What do we talk about? Or you know what I mean? Like how do I get them to stay on the phone with me? You know what I mean? A lot of it is the the unsureness. It's not just not quite knowing. You know what I mean? Is what they come to in the beginning. Just with a lot of questions, a lot of apprehension, a lot of anxiety about it. And some dads have great relationships with their kids. And for them, they just want to just strengthen it, right? And so they just want to focus on how do I strengthen it while I'm incarcerated. But it's a lot of anxiety of the unknown of how to go about it. It's kind of what I sense in the very beginning.
Okay. And again, like, I get that. Like I said, a lot of them, don't have relationships with their kids. So like they don't know how to break the ice, like, and then of course, they're also carrying a lot of guilt. A lot of
Hmm.
times they feel as if they don't deserve the forgiveness. They
Yep.
don't really deserve the chance. And, nobody's gonna care, and then whatever issues they may be dealing with the child's mom. Um, so knowing that they carry, this guilt, shame, feelings of inadequacy, how does you help them navigate those emotions and begin to rebuild their sense of self as fathers?
Yeah. So we amazingly have a therapy program. It's called Mindfully You. It's in its third year. Our dads go. It's 10 months of biweekly group therapy sessions with two therapists. One of the therapists is licensed. The other one is a master level therapist on their way to getting licensed. And so they connect with their therapists for 2 hours biweekly. And the idea behind our therapy program is one to get them comfortable with therapy, and to be able to start understanding who they are, being able to understand their attachment styles, being able to understand how to communicate, how to listen, right, how to not take things personal. We also focus on in therapy with them being able to share about all of their anxieties and their fears related to their kids, and then the other dads in the cohort, they're able to offer advice, share solutions, right, help them problem solve. They're able to say, man, I went through the same thing, with my kid, and this is how I dealt with it. And the beautiful thing is those conversations continue when they leave the room, right, and so they're able to
Right.
pour into them that way. So through our therapy program, we are able to help our dads start focusing on the truth and what the truth is. And also with our therapy program, it's really important for me that our dads understand who they are and who they're trying to be, and where they want to go, and really be steadfast in understanding that, because once they leave prison, no one sees the work that they're doing, right? Everyone sees when they come out of prison they are who they were when they got in. So helping them
Mhm.
understand that nobody's gonna believe you, probably they're not even gonna really take you seriously, but by doing the work that we're doing in Mindfully You, we're not worried about who doesn't see the vision, right? We're not worried about who doesn't believe you. Just continue to put one foot in front of the other, and who's supposed to be in your community will be in your community. And so we're able for our dads to have confidence within themselves and show up as themselves for themselves. Man, they can beautifully show up the same way for their kids. And so we're able to do that through our therapy program. And then our dads also are able to continue those therapy services when they're released from prison, and we cover the cost of that too. And so recognizing that even them coming out of prison, the therapy needs to continue, and so it will continue for as long as it needs to continue.
Mm, good stuff. Therapy is definitely a huge component that is much needed.
It's
Um,
a game changer.
yeah, it's a complete game changer. A lot of people, run from therapy. Um, and the most convenient is to use the stigma that has been, surrounding that in our communities for so long. But, I'd go a step further and say that, a lot of guys are just kind of scared to face their truth.
Oh, absolutely. We all
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And then what's your
I know I ran from mine for years, like for years. I ran from it, like even when it seemed like I was battling in my storm, like I was still running.
mm,
I wasn't ready to face the truth, because facing the truth, like, that's when you learn accountability and
yeah.
the part that you actually played in that picture.
Yeah.
So it's so convenient to blame everybody else when you're not wanting to hold yourself accountable. But literally, as Melly Mel just put in the chat, when you look at yourself in the mirror
Yep.
and you're absolutely real with yourself and can admit and acknowledge the part that you played in the picture, it hurts. But that's where the real healing starts.
And there's no bigger mirror for you than your kids, you know?
Amen.
There just isn't. So if you can be confident in yourself, and I also tell our dads too that like within the therapy process, like, man, as you start working on yourself and start growing and elevating, like your kids are watching. Like your kids are
Yeah,
watching your work. Like your kids are watching you be incarcerated. Your kids are watching you come home. Your kids are watching every step. And so as they grow, as you grow, they're also growing and experiencing life and understanding things too. And eventually, when they're able to see the hardship that you were able to battle through bravely, you're going to become their superhero. You know what I mean? Like,
man,
if they're able to see, like Jamarcus, like to hear for your story and to see where you are, you're a superhero. You know what I mean? They don't have to look any further for anybody to show them what can be done. They can look at you, right? So, don't you want to be that for your kid, right?
absolutely.
and 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 who doesn't want to be, but for us, we don't just say it. How can we walk alongside you and support you in doing that?
Absolutely. Um, Dave said we've motivated him even more,
Let's do
um,
it.
in the starting of his own program. He wants to get going with teens 12 to 18, to prevent incarceration. Yes,
It's
definitely
needed.
much needed. Yeah,
Yep.
much needed. He also asked, has therapy ever been suggested for the moms whose kids participate in the program?
Yep, that's part of it as well. We also are working on some additional funding to continue those services. And so ideally, the idea behind Mindfully You is that the therapist who works with the dads they also work with the family or the immediate family. So we don't do like cousins, and uncles, but we'll do mom and grandma, sister, and then the kids. So absolutely, absolutely, because the idea is we want everybody to be working on getting healed. When we can get a family healed, that changes the world.
Yes. So how do you address the cycle of trauma that often affects justice impacted families across generations? Um, we've talked about how, the guilt and the shame and different things, and maybe dealing with a a dad who, such as yourself, didn't grow up with their dad. So, they really don't know how to be a dad. They're frightened by the position and
Yeah.
the responsibility that comes with it.
And so what was the question? How do we
Address the cycle of trauma that often affects justice impacted.
oh with our you gotta name it. Name it, and not be afraid of it, and not be afraid to do the work.
Right.
Don Staley, the the women's basketball coach in South Carolina, she famously said, um, "Let's do hard differently," right? And so that's what we do with You is we're gonna do hard different. You know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna be afraid of it. We're gonna name it. We're gonna talk about it. Empathy is a big part of it too. Sharing empathy, having empathy. But for us, Jamarcus, it's just naming it. Let's just name it. Let's talk about it. And then let's just keep it moving.
That part. So, what do you see as the biggest misconception about incarcerated fathers when it comes to their capacity to love, grow, and parent?
Um, that they don't have any desire to do so. It's like the furthest thing from it's the
Yeah,
furthest thing from the truth, right? It's the furthest thing from the truth. That they don't have a desire, that they don't love their kids at all, that they weren't thinking about their kids when they made the mistakes that they made. That they don't want to be dads. The furthest thing from the truth.
absolutely, absolutely. Lot of myth busters. I like to call them.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, and with the countless dads that you've dealt with, of course, without getting too much into the story, is there a story of transformation, like where one of the fathers, mentally how he approached it, maybe wasn't with it, he fought very hard against it, didn't think that it would happen, um how that just changed to impact what he ended up doing.
Yeah. I was thinking about there. There's a dad that we had. What is this? Is after COVID, so 2022. I'll say Will. It's the dad. We're like family. So I've told this story many times. But we had a dad. Will was an addict. Um, which is what led him to his incarceration. And Will had and his the mother of his kid also was an addict as well, and they had three daughters. While Will was incarcerated, she ended up getting sober, figuring out her life, which inspired and encouraged Will while he was in prison. And so he took a lot of different programs
Yes, sir.
inside prison, and of course became a YouYesYou dad. And while he was incarcerated, his kids had a guardian. All three of his girls had a guardian, and we have, like I mentioned earlier, we have three opportunities to bring kids inside the facility to spend time with their dad. And we got close every time, but no cigars. So his girls didn't visit at all while in
Right.
prison. But Will beautifully understood, right? Instead of uh, going inward, with those thoughts and those feelings, Will went
Mhm.
outward and just tried harder and worked harder, right? And
Nice.
so when Will, long story short, when Will got out of prison, we also have a free legal assistance program. We have pro bono attorneys that work with our dads on issues related to their children. And so we were able to connect him with one of our attorneys who helped him with guardianship for his girls. And so he was able to not only get guardianship removed and get full custody, all three of his girls. He also got married to their mom. And so now they are
Ah,
living together. He has all of his girls, and they have this beautiful, beautiful family. And Will is doing. I just talked to him last week. So Will is doing amazing, right? And so, just that determination of the disappointment that he felt, instead of Will, overthinking it, thinking that, oh, I'm not a good dad. Of course, why would they want to come and see me? This is never going to work. Instead, Will was like, I understand. Let me keep working. Let me try harder. And then the number one
wow.
thing the number one thing that Will did that I try to encourage our dads to do, which maybe it might be a man thing, Jamarcus, I'm not sure. Is
Mhm.
what Will did was he asked for help. He just asked for
Yeah,
help. A lot of our dads um get out of prison and they are a little bit apprehensive of asking for help. And so I try to talk a lot to them about that. So yeah, that's Will's story. Just the idea of just instead of letting it beat him down, it just turned him up. And I really was really and still am inspired by that with Will.
man, I can imagine. I love how I love how y'all check all the boxes. Like you strip people of the excuses
Yeah.
that they could potentially use. You strip it. Like, when I heard you say, well, my brakes ain't working, and okay, well, we'll find a way to get some new brakes.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what's next?
My
Like,
favorite my favorite thing to do is how can we turn that no into a yes. And if I have a mom who's on the fence, I always tell our dads, if I have a mom who is on the fence, or if I have a mom who even replies to my text, we're good to go, right? Even if she replies to it and says, hell no, I don't want to blah blah blah. The fact that she replied is all we need, right? Because the ones who really don't want, they're not going to reply back or pay any attention to it. But even if the ones reply with the response we don't really want, it's a response. And I can work
wow,
with that. I can work with that.
wow. So, for any listeners who may be fathers or know someone inside struggling with fatherhood, what message of hope and healing would you want to leave with them?
Man, anytime I'm with our dads, I always share with them to try to remind them that your kids love you unconditionally. And unconditional love is really hard to understand and or to accept because at least from my experience many of us haven't really been loved unconditionally. So so what does that feel like? But I share
Right.
with them that your kids love you unconditionally. They want you around, they need you to be around. Also, they don't need you to be perfect. They do need you to be working on being healed though, right? They don't need you to be completely healed because we none of us will ever be, right? So really just
Right.
focusing, wanting them to focus on the fact that their kids love them regardless of why they are incarcerated, um, and that their kids do want to have a relationship with them, even if they're like, no, even all of the things, right? Um, hurt is a thing. With my dad, my hurt came out in anger. I was pissed off with my dad until the day he died. You know what I mean? But it was just hurt. You know what I mean? And so just trying to pour into our dads and any other dads that your kids absolutely love you, and they want a relationship with you. And if you aren't afraid to do hard differently, you'll be fine.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. Man, this has been an amazing, enlightening, empowering conversation. Of course, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Can't thank you enough, for just being who you are. Again, the work that you do. Um, I knew you were different the first time I met you. Like, I knew you were a godsend, and your work proves it. So again, thank you. Um, anything else you feel that the listeners need to know, or any last words you want to leave them with?
Um, I think that one, Jamarcus, I appreciate you. I don't know how often you get your flowers either, and or if people even understand your journey of how hard you likely have had to work to even be here in front of us today. Like it's not lost on me, but you also inspire me, encourage me. I had the same vibes. from you. So man, so first just appreciating you. And I'm happy that we met, and I'm happy that we're friends. I'm happy that we get to work together. I'm happy that you're a real one, right? There aren't many. We can talk about that
Thanks.
offline. But you are. And so real recognizes real, right? So first off,
Yeah.
um I think just to leave people with just, a big part of our work is that we want to humanize incarcerated dads. We want to allow them to tell their own stories. Also that um, and even in incarceration in general, I think anytime I watch the news, especially now in our city, there's so much going on. When I watch the news, I when someone gets in trouble, my first thought is, man, I wonder what their life is like, that had to be their decision, right? I wonder what's going on in their world, that this is their reality, that this is a decision that they made, right? And um so I would love for people to just maybe slightly change their way of thinking, when they watch the news and they see people getting arrested or charged or going to prison, that uh there's a story, behind that. And there's probably kids behind that. And that incarceration isn't just for the parent, it's for the whole family, for the community. And our job and our role and our hope, with YouYesYou, is to not only um, humanize incarcerated dads, but we are working to support dads so that they can be there for their kids, so that their kids do not in turn follow their same steps. And so I think that on the outside looking in, our work is absolutely focused on incarcerated dads and on parents and on men, but our work is really for the kids, right? Our perspective is, if we can help dad, if we can focus on dad, if we can help build dad up, ultimately that's going to help the kid and ultimately help the family. And so I just don't want it to get lost that our work is really about the kids, and this is just our way of trying to solve, that cycle of incarceration, that cycle of poverty, right? Helping our dads get jobs and living wages, and a bunch of different things. We do all of that, and it's ultimately because if we can pour into dad and dad can pour into his kid, then we're all better for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, thank you to the
It's my pleasure.
listeners. Yes, appreciate it. Thank y'all for y'all time this evening, for tapping in with us. Y'all know we here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This whole season has been dedicated to mental health. So every week we're tackling mental health issues and providing resources and people sharing their stories of mental health and different ways that they've overcome, different ways that they've coped, the different challenges that they've dealt with, the whole nine. So continue to tap in with us. If you enjoy the conversation, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. And always come check us out. Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org. See what we have going on this month. The month here of September is my birth month, as my birthday is Monday. We have deemed the month of September as Giving Month for Iron Sharpens Iron. Um, to help fulfill the mission, to fulfill the vision that we have in this work that we do, to be able to have a greater impact. So check the website out, see what we got going on, different ways that you can connect with us, different ways you can get involved. Always looking for Ironman to join the team in this work that we do. Being stationed here in Indianapolis, but we provide services and programs to the entire state of Indiana. Um, and will continue to do so. So appreciate any help, any support. Yeah, I see y'all in the chat. Big 50, big
You
50.
you're gonna be 50, Jamarcus. Happy birthday!
Yes, thank you, thank you.
More life, more life. I love it.
Absolutely. So with that, I'll give my closing reflection, and then we'll get on up out of here. So what stands out to me from this conversation is how vital it is to have people who are willing to stand in the gap, to advocate, to create space, and to remind us that healing and fatherhood can coexist, even when the system tries to tear that apart. We were reminded today that mental health isn't just an individual journey, it's a family journey, a community journey. When fathers are supported in their healing, children are given hope, and cycles of trauma can begin to break. To every father listening, your role matters, your presence matters, and your healing matters. And to every child impacted, know that you are seen, valued, and worthy of love. This episode is a reminder that when we focus on healing minds and hearts, we open doors for stronger families, stronger communities, and a stronger future. With that, this has been Elevate and Illuminate. Thank you, everybody, for your time this evening. See you again next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love is love.
Nice. Thank you.